I'm going to start recording. And so here we go. Here's how to find the darkroom. Here's some landmarks, the art office door. And Monica's joining us. And there we go. So if we come down the hall, I'm so excited about this. So the darkroom here, you can see the sign on the outside that its limit is 7 students, but that's the total room, and it's subdivided up. Also, there's a cool little QR code and some information about how to sign up when you're working outside of class, but you don't have to worry about that for class time. So we've got actually a couple different dark rooms that you guys will be able to work in. I think for Pinhole, let's start with it, keeping it simple, and we'll just work with the main big dark room and, you know, sort of come and go from there in groups of 3, safely distanced. So when you walk in, these doors will normally be closed. And so the idea is this big outdoor room. Here's what the door looks like. There's, for one thing, kind of a reminder sheet on the door about what to check when you're leaving if you're the last one. Of course, we're a group lab without necessarily someone running behind you cleaning up after you. So the routine for going in and out of the dark room without letting all the light out is you're gonna go in to this hallway. Y'all gonna get such vertigo. We have a light switch that turns on a red light up above. And so once the lights are all out in here, you know, it'll be pretty dark, but you'll be able to see where you're going, you know, because there will be a red light, which your eyes will be very accustomed to once you've been working in the darker room here. So now you come through this door. And so as you can see, the limit to the main darkroom is just 3 students at a time. And so you're gonna close this door behind you. And so you can see there's a dark lock, right? So if I'm trying to leave, I'm just gonna kind of listen to myself and think, did I hear anyone open that door? No? Okay, then it's safe for me to go through. I'm gonna close the door. Woo! I can't believe you can even see me. Then you'll come out the main door. And the routine is to close it right away behind you. Don't get in that habit of just like leaving the door sort of while you think about something, because somebody else who's working is stranded there until you close that door, right? So that's our goofy system. It's lovely. It's funny. I also have, as you're walking in, a towel rack. I don't know. I mean, I've been hanging my darkroom towels there to dry. With COVID, I don't know that you want to be leaving your own personal darkroom towel there to dry in between. Probably you would rather hang it in your locker. It's not going to have chemicals on it. That's the good news. It's only going to have water if you use it correctly. So it'll just be kind of damp dry. It's not ever being used to mop up water or anything like that. So when we come into the darkroom, any darkroom has a wet side and a dry side. And that terminology is kind of just to keep us safe. The dry side is the side with all the electrical equipment, okay? And so I think you probably could figure out that side shouldn't have any water there, but just really drill that into your head that no wet trays, don't set them down on any of these workstations, because this stuff is all pretty, you know, it's pretty high tech, it's pretty expensive, and we don't want it to get damaged. And more to the point, we don't want you to get electrocuted, you know, if you're sitting down something wet there. So the wet side is the sink. Surprise, surprise. And so the sink is set up like, you know, we saw in the demo, the chemicals, you have 3 primary chemicals. You've got developer, there's a label on the rail. You've got stop bath, label on the rail. And then we actually have 2 fixers to create a more archival work product. it's sort of like, think about mopping a floor with two mop buckets. If you had a, you know, one bucket of water and another one, and you use this one first, and then you mop the floor with the second, you'd get sort of a better follow-up and cleaning, right? So all it means to you is you go left to right, 1 minute per bath. And to make that convenient, I have signage up along the wall. If I back up, that gives you a sense of where you are. So you can, when you're in here, you can look and see, and it says developer, time in minutes, RC, that's the kind of paper you guys are using, 1 minute. Stop bath, time in minutes, 1 minute. Fixer A, 1 minute. Fixer B, 1 minute. Now we get to a slightly different thing, which is the holding bath. And that's the gray thing up there. The holding bath, you just hold your prints there as you work. And it's sort of, think of it like the laundry basket. Remember that after your prints come out of the fixer, they've got acid on them. They've got acidic fixer. So they're gonna need a wash of water, but you don't wanna just like wash one sock with your washing machine, dry it, and then wash your underwear as one load, right? No, you pile it all up and then you do it as a group. We do the same thing here in order to conserve water. So when you're coming in to set up, we're just gonna turn on the holding bath, just like that. And it's just gonna fill, and then it's got a drain coming out the other side. And that way it's sort of continuously rinsing at a slow rate to remove a little bit of the fixer, so they're not just sitting there soaking in fixer until you're done. But there'll then be a final step after you're done. You know, maybe you sort of come and go and make a few pinhole prints, you know, trying to figure out the right exposure. You just leave your paper sort of floating around in there. And then when you're done, fish out all your little pieces of paper that you want to keep. And then you'll use this guy to actually wash them for real. And this fish tank looking thing fills up right here. And there are more instructions printed on the wall about how to use it. I might make a separate video altogether rather than go into too much detail here and make this, you know, the deadliest recording ever to access. So I'm going to put you on a tripod now so that you can be watching while I set up the chemicals, and you'll be totally self-sufficient if you wanted to come in and work on the weekends or something like that, because this isn't the only darkroom project we're going to do in this class. We're gonna have fun with it. All right, so I'm gonna aim you a little bit. There we go. So when you come in, you'll, like for class, I'm gonna have these chemicals mixed, but it's useful to have this for the record. Everything's arranged left to right as far as what you're going to need. And so developer is the first thing. There's a sign on the wall. If you're watching from a little tiny mobile screen, you may not be able to read this, but if you wanted to watch it again on a bigger thing, or just you'll see it after all when you come in on Monday. So there's a sign back there. It says Kodak developer Deckdoll mix 1-to-1 with water for use, and or 1-to-2, excuse me. And in that tray right in front of that sign is everything you need. You have a little measuring graduate with marks made in big Sharpie markers, so it's easy to find them. You would fill up to the 10 mark with the developer in this bottle, and then pour that into the tray. And then you're going to fill up to the 20-ounce mark with water and pour that in the tray. No fancy mixing or anything to worry about, like procedure-wise. We're just getting more or less the volume right. So I'm going to do that right now. And I didn't quite have enough. This was left over from last semester. So it's an opportunity. When one of these jugs goes empty, just give it a quick rinse with water, and you're going to put it down underneath the washer. So I'm going to try, I think you can see where I'm going with that. You couldn't see where I went with that. I'm unplugging. Lamest video ever. All right. So as we walk along, this is all the empty containers down here. That way I just can kind of keep an eye on it really easily. And when I see a lot of stuff build up there, I know it's time to make more chemicals. Where you get the fresh stuff is right down here. And you can see their little signs on the sink and everything. So I'm going to grab this. That's why there's a sign on the back behind where this goes, so that it's easy for you to tell which bottle you need to get. And the bottle says Dektol and all that stuff. Okay. So this guy just goes back up there. It will not normally be that brown. This is some venerable stuff. It's sat around since March 18th when we were last on campus. All right. You have a hose conveniently located right here. I'm going to fill that. Cuts off right there. And it doesn't have to be super crazy deep, you know, accurate, but you know, try to get it pretty close. And this stuff will stain your clothes, and the stain will build up in the measuring devices. So please rinse this out before you put it back up in that tray. You know, just like slosh it with some water, pour it down the drain. The drain is conveniently right in this corner. And then just set it upside down in that tray when you're done. So that's the developer. Congratulations, that is actually the hardest one. And the stop bath, much easier. Yay! Can you read that? Stock solution, no dilution needed. Just grab 30 ounces and you're ready to go. Woohoo! So, got a little measuring thingy. I'm gonna take the lid off with one hand. There we go. This one is acidic, but not so acidic that it should really scare you necessarily. It's acidic like vinegar. Think of like white vinegar and how that does sting your hangnails a little bit, right? But, you know, it's not gonna eat your fingers off to the bone either. But it is gonna smell a little bit like Easter egg dyes or salad dressing, depending on your background. And it should be yellow. The yellow is a dye which is built into it so that we know how long it's been in use and if it's still effective or not. I'm just rinsing out my graduated cylinder off screen here. That goes back up here. And so now we've got these first two trays, and the only thing left to do is put some tongs in there so that we don't have to stick our hands in every time. And the tongs live right up here over the holding bath. And you'll just need technically only two. So I just set them right in the tray like that. The fixer, you won't have to mix. The fixer just hangs out. You don't pour it out when you're done with it. The fixer lives in these two deeper tanks, and you might need to test it when you come in, but not for now. You know, this is beginning. I'm going to make sure it's in good shape when you come into work. If you needed to check it, you are curious, this is the stuff that you use, and there is instructions printed on a sheet right here for you. But the fixer, yeah, we'll get another set of tongs for the fixer. I say technically you only need 2 sets of tongs because both the stop bath and the fixer are acidic. And so one is not really going to contaminate the other. The developer, you really don't want to be taking the stop bath tongs and bringing them back into the developer. It's just not good for how long it'll last. So we are all set up now to process. Now, the other thing to tell you about is how to turn on the safe lights, as we call them. So back next to the door, this is the switch that controls the overhead regular classroom lights, right? So I always leave that on when I'm setting up. But usually, I'm kind of off my game here, I also remember to turn on the safe lights and the fan from this little switch over here. It's got a glow-in-the-dark label. It's so cool. And you probably, depending on the recording quality here, could hear the fan come on. So the fan and the safe lights are on the same switch. The safe lights are these guys, and they'll glow sort of a faint orange as they first come on, and then they'll get more intense and it'll be easier to see. They take 3 to 5 minutes to warm up to their maximum brightness. So normally if you're coming into work and no one else is there, I would recommend you just flip those things on right away. Go ahead and leave the white lights on while you're setting up your chemicals and whatnot. And then by the time you're ready to shut the lights out and actually process paper or load your camera, the lights are bright and you can see what on earth it is you're doing. So I think I'm going to pause the recording while we're waiting for that and give you guys a chance to ask questions. Let's see. In fact, I'm going to stop.